What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joining today with me is a very, very special guest. We're actually speaking at a conference together, hosted by herself that she put on. But we're going to get into it after she introduced herself. We didn't get a chance to bump into each other, but at BYOB is where we first got connected. But I don't introduce nobody because I don't like messing up nothing. So go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Very excited. Yes, it is crazy how networking through an app at BYOB has turned into, me being on your podcast, you being on my conference.
Yes, ma'am.
Just so much. So the power of networking, first and foremost. So my name is Tiara Nicole. I am a motivational speaker, a published author, development coach. I work with clients on personal development as well as business development, one-on-one. I've published 3 books. Number 4 will be here in 2020. Very excited about that. I also host conferences and workshops. The upcoming conference is the 3rd annual Loving Me conference, September 20th through the 22nd in Charlotte, North Carolina. lovingme2019.eventbrite.com. You do not want to miss it. I'm going to just tell you that right now. Not only are we talking about mental health in the Black community, we're talking about finances and credit scores and time management and the keys to success and self-love and just everything you need to be successful and how to strategically chase your dreams. And then we also have panels talking about publishing your first book, as well as panels about chasing your dreams. So just listen, just get your ticket, okay? Get your ticket. You need to be there.
Listen, you are a busy woman, busy person. How are you, man? I love talking to entrepreneurs. How do you manage handling all that toll mentally? Because you know me, I always ask you, like, what can I do? How can I help? Because I know that backbone of, like, you never know what somebody's going through or how you can contribute and help out. So that's why I continually ask you, because I know that pressure of putting that on that type of impact. So talk about the mental health part of putting on something of this magnitude.
Yes. And first and foremost, thank you, because you are very consistently asking, like, how can I support? What do you need from me? And even just the question helps. So thank you.
No problem.
Because it is very taxing to do all that I do. And because I do recognize that, I am very intentional about my self-care routine. And so recently, and what's crazy to me is, from a spiritual perspective, every time I have something big coming up, I go through an attack of depression. Every time. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, so clearly this is about to be impactful, because if not, the devil would not be after this. Like, when I tell you the past 2 weeks and trying to get through this conference and the last minute details and people canceling last minute, and I'm like, okay, I really, really, really want to be like, you know what? Here's your money back. Let's go. But then the other part of me is like, I know for a fact that if it wasn't information that people needed, the devil wouldn't be out to stop it. Period. So, and also part of my self-care routine is ensuring that I have a consistent relationship with God. So after my last spell of depression, I realized, like, I have to have a mental health routine that I touch on a daily basis. So I wake up at 7 every day. Studies show that waking up at the same time every day teaches your body to have more productive sleep, and you get tired at the same time. So I wake up at 7 every day. My first hour is devoted to God, devotional time, my relationship with God, scripture, sermons, prayer. That's it. I sleep with my phone on airplane mode, and it does not turn back on until after that hour. No interruptions. I want uninterrupted sleep, and I want uninterrupted devotional time with God. Then Monday through Friday, I work out in the morning. First thing, like, I guess technically second thing in the morning, going to the gym. So the next 2 hours are gym, shower, breakfast. And then at 10, I start my day. So I'm learning to be intentional. Like, even though I work full time as an entrepreneur, even though I'm home pretty much all day, like, yes, I'm up early, but learning to not schedule anything before 10 to give me time to devotional time, workout, shower, breakfast. So
Mm-hmm.
that first 3 hours of the day is me.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I can pour into everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and be okay and genuinely be in a good spirit. So my spirit is intact, my body is ready, my mind is ready. I'm ready to pour into the lives of others on a daily basis.
Mm. What made you well, you talked about it, I just wanted to like expand on it further. And I'm guessing this is your devotional, your routine of you loving yourself. Is that what made you put on the conference in the first place? I'm guessing that's where you drew the inspiration from.
Yeah, kinda. So Loving Me 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So Loving Me 2017 um, literally came. I planned it in like a month,
Wow.
like first and foremost. And I was like, I felt a nudging from God saying, like, put this together, do it. And I'm very big on, when I hear God tell me to do something, I'm very big on taking action immediately,
Mm.
because I believe that delayed disobedience is still disobedience.
Ooh, grim dropper.
Delayed disobedience is still disobedience. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, as long as I did it. Nope. So when he told me to put on the first Loving Me conference, I didn't know what it was going to turn into. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew I was supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that it needed to happen that summer.
Mm-hmm.
That I heard very clearly. So I think the first one was like July, like the end of July, something like that. Um, Year two, I was like, oh, summer goes until September. I was like, okay. I've misconstrued a few things.
Right.
But that was how I interpreted summer the first year. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's get it done. Planned it, scheduled it. The first one was in my mother's office. I was
Wow.
like, listen, I feel like it has to happen.
Right.
So this is what it's going to be.
Right.
And in everything that I do with my business, I try to ensure that God is my like business partner. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to make a move. I don't want to continue to do something that I don't feel God telling me to do. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I'm on YouTube, right? And I was posting like 3 videos a week. But the moment I stopped hearing God telling me to do that, I was like, cool. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the videos are still there. You're welcome to take a gander. Like Nicole's Network, they're all on there.
Mm-hmm.
3 years worth of videos. So you know,
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing it consistently every Monday for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't hear God telling me to do it, then that's not what I'm doing anymore.
Right.
That's just what it is.
Right.
And what I hear Him telling me to do, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna give my best efforts, and then let Him handle the rest. So if I know that I've done everything in my human power that I hear Him telling me to do, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm inviting the people I hear Him telling me to invite, if I'm connecting with the people I feel Him leading me towards, if I'm reaching out to this person, talking to that person, doing this and doing that, at a certain point, it gets to a point where I'm like, all right, God, you told me to do this. I did what you told me to do.
Right.
It's your turn.
Right.
Let go. And that's honestly where I'm at right now, where I'm like, it's the final 2 weeks. I've planned, I've scheduled, I've coordinated, I've given my best efforts. I've tried to figure out everything that I could possibly figure out in my own strength. At this point,
In God's hand.
it's above me now.
Right.
It's above me now. But I'm really, really, really big on doing what I hear God telling me to do, and taking action, because what I know for sure is I have never read of a miracle that took place in the Bible that did not require the recipient's participation.
Mm, mm.
Now, God can work miracles without your participation. But I think the reason for that is because you got to do something. You got to show up and show God that you want that miracle, and then He'll do His part.
Right.
He'll, He'll do his part.
Right.
And even down to like for this year's location, that location costs a pretty penny,
Mm.
a very pretty penny. But the moment I said Charlotte, the moment I felt like Charlotte was where this conference needed to go, that was the same moment that I had clarity on where.
Mm.
And I looked for plenty of other cheaper venues. I promise you. But that was the place that I felt like it needed to be.
Right.
So that's where we are.
Um, I want to piggyback off of it because I don't want to leave that position. How has God, and you touched on it, but I think it's a deeper level that probably is that I need to get out. How has God been effective and positively affecting your mental health over the years by including him in everything as far as like your business, your personal, just everything? Let's talk about that experience.
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Mental Clarity Coaching. Mental Clarity Coaching is a life strategizer service that prioritizes personal, professional, and product development. Not only is the concentration on single mothers, underdeveloped men, misguided youth, or lost entrepreneurs, but the person behind these titles. The main objective is to help the individual so that they can flourish in their gifts and capitalize on every opportunity that's available to them. I hate talking about stuff that has to do with me, so I got a review for someone who actually went through the coaching program and is an entrepreneur. And they said, I found Reg when I was nearly at the end of my rope and on the verge of giving up on it all. I'm glad to have rediscovered my inner strength and developed a supportive community through Reggie's support, transparency, and commitment to helping real people push through. Through his program, I found a coach, a friend, and my best self. For more information about mental clarity coaching, go to my website, reginaldahoward.com/coaching, and let's work together to get you the clarity you've been looking for. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by My Violin Weighs a Ton. My Violin Weighs a Ton is the realization of a unique vision that hip-hop artist and mental health advocate Archie Green crafted and is bringing to life in order to engage, educate, and inspire a new generation. Archie also understands the power of music and how it can be used to overcome obstacles, deal with painful experiences, and even help individuals cope with mental illness. The students participating in this project are a part of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, which according to a 2017 CDC study are leading the nation in suicide rates. Wow. 2 in every 10 high schoolers having attempted suicide in 2015. That is big. Wow. In January 2019, Archie and his mental health advocacy group, Pilgrim Layers Back, was granted the opportunity to bring My Violin Weighs a Ton to life. For the 4-month-long performance project, Archie and Pilgrim Layers Back have partnered with Lexington Bell Community Center, which is an urban youth educational center located in the historic Cleveland neighborhood of Ho. I hope I pronounced that right. To support, head over to the GoFundMe.com/MVWAT2019. The link will be in the description of this podcast, and make sure to let them know you heard them first on the Black Mental Health Podcast.
Absolutely. So I think so. I grew up in the church, right? So I've always been around the Christian religion. You know how to be religious. Like you grow up in it. You know what to say, what not to say, how to dress. You don't chew gum in church.
Mm.
You know, if you're wearing a dress, put pantyhose on. You know, like you learn religion
Mm-hmm.
growing up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I learned relationship when I hit my rock bottom.
Mm.
And that is where the difference came in. And so when I miscarried the twins in 2016, I ain't had nobody but God. Like I was just like, listen, I can't take it. It was the first thing in life that I knew I could not handle on my own. I couldn't. I couldn't heal myself from that. I didn't know what to do.
Mm.
I had never experienced it before. It was the greatest heartbreak of my life. And it required me to learn how to have a relationship with him. And it took a while to even get to that point because initially that relationship was really damaged because I felt like I serve a God that can do anything, heal anyone, bring people from the dead, move mountains, all of this. And you either killed my sons or you watched them die.
Mm.
And either which way, I got a problem. And so I had to heal and forgive, quote unquote, forgive God for making that decision. And then we got to a real relationship. But now that I have, it's been very beneficial because life is not easy, but you feel like you have the tools to survive. Like the bumps in the road are coming anyway.
Mm.
And I feel like my relationship with God, it has given me the tools to be able to handle those bumps and keep going. As opposed to those bumps in the road that are coming regardless, taking me out.
I think about when you said your story as far as the twins. I think about all those mothers out there, or even younger mothers who are probably going through that same situation. What would you have told yourself as like a guidance counselor, or as a person of experience? What would you have told your younger self to help that person heal? Because I'm thinking about the young lady that hears this story and it's like, all right, well, what do I need to do? How can I get help to go through this story right now in this moment?
Absolutely. First and foremost, therapy. Therapy was definitely my like the game changer. I'd started therapy the moment I found out I was pregnant because I knew I'd struggled with depression and suicide in my past, which made me at risk for postpartum or at a greater risk for postpartum. Because even if you have never experienced depression, you can still go through postpartum depression. There are women who only get depressed after postpartum. So it's a real thing for everyone. But when you have a history of mental challenges, you're at a greater risk. So I started therapy the moment I found out I was pregnant because I wanted to kind of get ahead of it. And try to create. And also, my thing about therapy is when you create a therapeutic relationship while everything's okay, you don't have to get to know your therapist in the middle of a crisis. So when I ended up miscarrying the twins, obviously I wouldn't have known that. But I was grateful to have a working relationship with my therapist because she already knew what I was going through. She already knew the background. She knew the story. She knew the history. And now we can focus on the crisis that's at hand as opposed to, okay, what's your name? And who's your insurance company? And what brings you to therapy? And have you ever experienced depression before? And have you ever, you already have that information. So let's get down to it.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if you wait for a crisis to happen, that's when, it's just not comfortable. So I always recommend having a consistent therapeutic relationship. And when things are still going, while things are okay, that's when you deal with your baggage. And then if and when a crisis happens, because we all go through something. So if and when a crisis occurs, you're in a position to handle it more effectively because you already have that relationship developed. So definitely therapy. And then also my third book is specifically to be a resource for women who have suffered that loss and as well as the people around them. So when I was going through the grief of my miscarriage, there were not a lot of resources on the how. I'm very I'm a literal kind of person. I need to don't just tell me grieving takes time. Okay, how much time? What do I do in that time? How do I deal with that? I need specific instructions. So about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year, my mom sat me down and she was like, listen, this is your lane. 2, you need to create the resources that you wish you had. And kind of in a be the change you want to see in the world kind of perspective, but be the person you needed. Provide the resources you wish were available. And so when I wrote the third book, that was not supposed to be the third book, but that's how God works. So you just roll with it. And God very often speaks through their authority. So because I'm a single young woman and I work for myself. So pretty much my authority is my mama and my pastor. And I have a few mentors, but Anyways, so literally, and if you read the intro of book number 3, I quite literally say, like, part of the reason I wrote this book is because my mama told me to. Like, that's just what it is. But in the book, I speak specifically to 10 different steps to walk you through that grieving process. And I offer suggestions and solutions and resources and understanding. And not only that, there is an entire chapter devoted to how do you support someone through that process. Because a lot of times, for example, like my mother has never experienced miscarriage before. She didn't know how to support me as her child.
Right.
Like, what do you do when your child can barely breathe because her child is dead?
Ooh.
Like, honestly, we're still figuring that out. And it's been 3 years. We're still figuring out what that grieving process looks like for us as a family. Because what I realized in the grieving process is, yes, I carried those babies, but the twins' father, their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their godparents, like everyone who was wishing for a baby and just wanted a healthy baby and ended up with an angel has a grieving process to go through. Every single person who knew that that baby was coming and had to face the reality that those twins are no longer with us has a grieving process. Not just me as the mother. Now, it may hurt a little bit more because, like, I felt them, like you had that physical attachment, but that doesn't negate the fact that it broke my little sister's heart to know that these twins were not going to make it. My father still struggles with the reality that those twins are not here. And I don't have a relationship with my ex-baby daddy anymore. But, like, that is a memory and a bond that we will share forever. And so when you see it from that perspective, you also have to understand that grief is such a tricky thing in and of itself. But on top of that, when we don't provide the answers and the resources, people are left to their own devices. And so that is my challenge, particularly as the Black Christian community. Death happens, miscarriages happen. Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we talk about the appropriate responses to dealing with that and getting through that anger that naturally comes towards God? Like, we talk about how great God is and how much he can do for us. And then you're left with, well, it was all in God's plan. Or my favorite, so the twins, I miscarried the twins like 3 weeks apart. I was told, well, at least you have one son left. And then I was also told, well, you're still young. You can always try again. And all 3 of those statements came from Christian people, Christian folks. Like, we have to understand what you should and should not say and what your words are doing to that person. And so that's what that chapter in the book is also dedicated to. Like, not only what you shouldn't say, but what you could say. That would actually be helpful. So, Life After Loss, get on Nicole'sNetwork.net. If not for you, for someone who's struggling. And even if you don't have the words, just gifting that book could be a life changer.
I don't even want to leave that topic because a lot of people have that conversation about religion versus mental health and how it's not really discussed because they try to use, or and I don't want to misspeak, but God is above basically mental health. He's above everything. So if God meant, like you said, for your child to have something happen, then it was supposed to be. How do you manage your mental health, balancing it with what's the word? You can't question God. Like, you're not allowed to question certain things that happen in your life because it's like you're not supposed to question God. So how do you balance that, your mental health aspect versus your religious aspect?
For sure. One, I will say faith without works is dead. And I'm going to leave that there. 2, who do you think created therapists? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, there's a huge divide between religion and mental health, but not realizing, like, if you get sick and you go to the doctor, now there are some Christians who be like, no, I'm just gonna pray this broken leg will heal, child. You know what I mean? But like most of us, if you break a leg, you're going to the doctor. If you start to bleed catastrophically, you're gonna pray at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing for your mind. It really is. He, just like God created the doctors and he can touch the lives of doctors and he can use doctors that may not have a relationship with God, but he can still touch their hands and bless their processes. It's the same thing for your mind. It really is. And we as the church have to be more vocal about how those two relationships work together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can go to therapy all day long, but if I don't have a relationship with God, I'm out of whack. Mm-hmm. I can have a relationship with God all day long, but if I'm not practicing self-care and mental health concerns, I'm still out of whack. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I believe there's a reason why God created that environment or allowed therapists to be a thing. Like, we need it. It's okay. And we in the Black community need it more than anybody. Like, we have fundamental and systematic issues that need to be dealt with on an individual basis so that you don't continue to project that into your future. Period. And I will say that I am at my best when my mind and my spirit are at their best at the same time.
Listen, I'm gonna ask one more question because y'all gotta get all this content at the 2019. Like, you gotta get it at the conference because this is y'all getting this for free right now, and she's dropping schools and a lot of gyms, and I'm pretty sure she's doing this off of this conversation. Imagine when you get her in person and you get to experience her fullness. So the tickets in the bio and everything. My last question, or partially my last question, how has the transition been from moving from one city to another? Like, I know a lot of people don't talk about how tough it is when you go from basically transplanted from one environment to the next and you have to figure it out. How has that toll been on you mentally, just adjusting to your new environment?
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Spread the Good Communications. Spread the Good Communications offers copywriting, editing, planning, and consulting services to help businesses and nonprofits share who they are, what they do, and why it's valuable. The mission of Spread the Good is helping people who serve the well-being of communities, families, and individuals to engage their audience and build relationships. You may have the right solutions to offer your audience, but your success is limited without effective messages and stories about your work. Shelley Williams is the creator of Spread the Good Communications. She loves using the power of words to make a positive impact in people's lives. Here's a testimonial from Sharika on her website. Shelley has been a great asset to my company and played a vital role in implementing effective communication strategies for my target audience. She is able to quickly understand and complete work that delivers a clear and detailed message. If you're ready to get better results with engaging your ideal audience, visit spreadthegoodcomms.com/services and reach out to Shelly and tell her Reg sent you. I can 100% vouch for her. She's been nothing but great for me and the work that we've done. If you guys like my book, Suffering Success, A Paradigm Shift or Struggle to Achieve Happiness, you'll definitely know that she was the person who edited my book. And if you guys like the way the flow of my book went, you can get a living proof of example of her work. So go check out Spread the Good Communications and tell Shelly Rad sent you. And go get a copy of Suffering Success while you're out. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by the Worthy Lifestyle app. Are you looking for mental health support, education, and resources? Are you lacking self-esteem to elevate? Are you looking for a way to handle the childhood trauma you're not talking about? Are you sad, angry, or just all over the place emotionally? If so, download the Worthy Lifestyle app. The Worthy Lifestyle app provides mental health education, resources, and support. Learn how to become the best version of yourself. Before you can win, you have to believe you're worthy. Download the Worthy Lifestyle app and tell them Brad sent you. I had a chance to meet the creator and the owner and the operator, and she's an amazing person. We actually are in the talks of doing big things together, especially for the mental health community. So I'm in so full support of what she's doing with this app, and I highly recommend it because it's an amazing tool for people that say therapy and all of these things are expensive and they don't know where to start. So the Worthy Lifestyle app is definitely a place to give you that start, and it might be the place that you call home for a while. So go download the app and tell them Brad sent you.
The move to Charlotte was probably the worst moving experience I've ever had. I kid you not. Moving to Charlotte is something that I know I'm supposed to be here. I definitely know that very clearly and very intently. But the process to get here, child, it was not. There were a couple of moments where I was tempted to say, forget it. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do, but forget it. But one of the things that I knew was I was supposed to be in Charlotte, and it was supposed to happen before winter.
Mm-hmm.
That I knew very clearly. I wasn't going to spend not day another winter in
Right.
Maryland. It's cold. I don't like it. Not with it. Not with it. I used to say I have seasonal depression, but I have a new phrase for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a flower that needs the sun. Okay. I stole that from my sister's roommate in college. My mom asked her, like, why'd you guys move from Michigan to Florida? And she said, well, my mother's a sunflower and she needs the sun to be productive. I said, oh, yes, that's me. Um, so, yes, I knew the move to Charlotte was what I was supposed to be doing, etc. The process to get here was very, very chaotic. So, on top of planning the conference in Charlotte from Maryland, that in of itself, I'll never do it again. Like that was crazy. Like planning something out of state just felt chaotic. Then I had a townhouse in Maryland, but I was staying with my uncle in Baltimore because I was yes, Baltimore, and then like the Maryland part of DMV, they really do feel like two different parts. Like Baltimore feels like a different state. Let's just be clear, okay? But I was staying in the Baltimore area doing a 6-week summer camp. So, and then in the process, the townhouse, which is a family house, was supposed to be, or a house that's been in my family for like 3 of my family members have lived there. So it was getting renovated. So, in the process of getting renovated, apparently the first contractor we had took out a structural part of the wall. Didn't know that. Huh?
Like the foundation of the actual.
Yeah. So, we didn't know that until, so this was in the kitchen on the mid level. We didn't know that until the ceiling on the top level caved.
Ooh.
Catch this. My bedroom furniture was still in the house because I figured, well, what's the point of paying for a storage unit when I'm going up the street?
Right.
They're like the renovations that they're doing. It wasn't supposed to be this big project.
Right.
It had become one because of the mayhem. But so in all of that, it was like, what are we gonna do?
Right.
So, and the crazy part, we knew the roof was about to cave because the guest bedroom caved first. So we knew it was coming. So my uncle was like, listen, we got to get your stuff out the house like ASAP. So this was like a Tuesday night. So from Wednesday to Saturday, I was like, cool. I had to set up, I had to secure the apartment, pay for the apartment, set up the movers, set up the moving truck. I had to move my stuff to Charlotte earlier than expected, so I had to pay more because I had to pay for part of July, like half of July, all of August, and the deposit, and the movers, and okay. So I'm like, okay, you want to talk about wiping out your savings? After working as a full-time entrepreneur, like quitting my job to be a full-time entrepreneur and then wiping out your savings, the shit is scary. Okay? Scary. But okay. And then I get to the house to pack up my stuff, right? The movers are on their way there. And that's that's the very moment I discover my entire bedroom is full of the ceiling.
Ooh.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So now I gotta buy new furniture too. I have really bad eczema. I can't sleep in a bed that's been covered with whatever the hell is on the ceiling.
Right.
Like I can't.
Right.
My grandma's like, oh, we could just clean it off. No, ma'am. I am not sleeping in that. I'm just not. Like, I can't. Like, my skin is too sensitive for that. That's just what it is. Now I might go back for that TV. That might happen because I don't need to touch it. You just put it on the wall and move on. Right. But yeah, so the whole process was very, very chaotic. So I moved the rest of my furniture down to Charlotte, then go back. Then I come, set up the cable and internet, like the Monday I got there, and the cable man broke my TV. The only TV I had left at that point, because the other one was covered under the roof.
Wow.
Broke my TV, had to go through that whole process. Like, anything that could go wrong did. It definitely did. I am finally at a place where I'm like, okay, I pretty much got everything, we're together, etc. On top of that, I was coaching the 6-week program in Baltimore and in classes, like for my master's, which, crazy enough, with all of the chaos of the summertime, I got a 4.0 for my summer semester. I was like, yo, look at the Lord, because that was not Tiara. I don't know how we did that.
Right.
But child, I'll take it.
Right.
Okay? I will take it. So it just was a lot. And it really was very, very, very. And, my family wanted to be helpful and they wanted to be supportive, but I was like, I don't even know what to tell you I need. Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, I'm tired. I can't even think straight.
Right.
I cannot think straight. And there was a point where the 3 out of 4 weekends, I was driving back and forth to Charlotte. That's a 7-hour drive each way. One of those weekends, I did the 14 hours in one day.
Back and forth.
Just to move my stuff down. And then, so here's the setup. So the weekend I was planning on moving my stuff to Charlotte, I was intending on going by myself. I said, cool, I got movers here, I got movers in Charlotte, I'm just going to do it, right? Then my grandmother's like, well, you don't need to do that road trip by yourself. All right, grandma. So then my uncle gets voluntold to go with me. So I agree. I was like, okay, whatever. In the process of agreeing, he's like, oh, by the way, I got to be back tonight. I said, so you want me to drive 14 hours in one day? Sir. And then he tried to get me to go the next week, and I was like, listen.
Nah, I'm cool.
Whatever gets down in Charlotte, whatever can fit in my car is what's going. At this point,
I don't care. Right.
I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, I left so much stuff in that house. My mom was like, you really just gonna leave it all? I was like, if it's here when I get back, excellent. If not, excellent. Like, my little sister stole one of my bathroom towels, and I visited her this past weekend in Florida. She's like, did you recognize the towel? And I was like, yeah, I did. I said, is that the exact towel? She was like, yep. Glad someone's using it, doll.
Right.
Go for it. So I say all that to say, it was a very big test of my mental health. I'm glad to be here. In Charlotte, and
to put a nice bow on everything. I want to wrap it up. I don't want to hold your time, like you said. She's a busy person, and I know you just got your day started because it's time to pour into everybody else now.
It is.
The last question I always ask guests is, what is your overall viewpoint, experience? You've been talking about it this whole episode, but just like to put a bow on it, your opinion on mental health in the Black community. Period.
My opinion on mental health in the Black community is we have a lot of work to do, but you can't fix a problem that you refuse to acknowledge.
Mm.
We need healing, and the stigma that's associated with mental health within the Black community has to go.
Mm.
It has to go. Um, at the end of the day, I mean, I could list off a lot of the areas in which we need healing. Um, can I? Can I list a few? Okay.
Good.
So, one, our perspective on financials needs healing. Our culture has been through a lot when it comes to business and money and finances. And if you look up the history, like just Google Black Wall Street, and you can see like things like redlining and things like even the Jim Crow laws had a lot to do with keeping us in a position which we're getting better at it now. But you can't get to wealth without the mindset being intact. So that's one area we need a lot of healing in. Another area we need healing in is our family relations, particularly like Black women and their daughters,
Mm.
Black women and their sons, Black men and their daughters, and probably Black men and their sons too.
Mm-hmm.
But the parent-child relationship needs a lot of healing because there have been a lot of toxic patterns being passed because that's just all we've known. But if we took a moment to heal, we wouldn't pass on those toxic patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my biggest goals. The twins they were identical boys. But I know before I have a daughter, like I have healing that I have to do so that I don't create that same pattern within that mother-daughter relationship. Um, and so healing within the family because there's a lot of toxicity within the Black family, like a lot. But when you look at where it comes from, it's rooted in pain and it's rooted in hurt for years. And that don't ask, don't tell, we gotta let that go. We have got to let that go. And we have to deal with the pain that we've been through. Um, and as sick as it is, raping family members is ridiculous. Like, I don't know how that started, but that has to stop. And those who are attracted to or feel like they were asking for it or whatever on the adult end of it, you are in that child's life to protect them, not to take advantage of them. Even if they did ask for it, that's not your that's not for you to give to them. And if you have ever been taken advantage of by a family member, especially, but anybody in general, like you need to have that healing take place. You need to heal. A majority of people, I don't know the percentage, but there are a majority of people who are impacted by rape or molestation that are done so by people they know. Like that's a deeper hurt. I mean, I can't. I've never experienced it, but and so I can't define like levels of hurt. But I can only imagine that loss of trust that comes along with. I can't even go to Thanksgiving dinner and be comfortable
Mm-hmm.
because the person that raped me and that other family members know they raped me, and he's sitting right across the table from me. That needs to stop. And we need to get healing on all accounts. We need healing in the Black community. And at the end of the day, therapy is not for white women. It's not just for white women. They are the face of it and they benefit the most from it. But at the end of the day, we need to start taking that serious and understand if you have health insurance, more likely than not, you have free therapy. If not, greatly reduced. So the excuse of like that's a luxury, and that I think that's really what it is. It's viewed as a luxury. Self-care is viewed as a luxury within the Black community, and that is not healthy. It is not. And Black women in particular are the least likely to take care of themselves. We take care of everybody and their mama, literally, but won't take care of ourselves. So if there's any one thing I would challenge is definitely self-care as a necessity and not a luxury.
Mm. And on that note, guys, the link to the conference will be down below. Follow her on all the social media platforms. Those links will be up as well. And just support everything that she has going on because it's a very beneficial to everyone within the community. And a lot of women could benefit from listening to everything, your movements and the things you're doing. And a lot of men as well, just hearing a woman's perspective on a lot of these things. So follow her, subscribe to everything. Go check out her YouTube, even though she ain't posting in a minute.
It's some good stuff on there, I'm telling you. It's just been a while.
And remember that this platform has never been about a replacement to therapy. It's an alternative, and it's a place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.